Hello, everyone. Today, we're starting our lessons on lead generation for virtual assistants, and I'm very glad that you are here. Today, I'm going to introduce you to lead generation, and we will cover following topics. First of all, what is lead generation at all, and why is it important? What types of leads are there? Then I will tell you about goals and expectations that lead generator should set with clients. And of course, in the end, I will tell you about responsibilities and tasks of a lead generation virtual assistant. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Paulina. I'm a business development manager and sales and lead generation expert with more than 3 years of experience in different IT companies, both product and outsourcing. And I have experience in lead generation through various channels, including emails, different social media, other platforms, and I will be glad to share my knowledge and expertise with you. So let's start with our first topic. What is lead generation? And the core definition here is, what is a lead? A lead is a person or company, or organization, anything and anyone that has demonstrated an interest in some product or service. They can do so by, for example, visiting a website, downloading some information, like, for example, newspaper or white paper. They can subscribe to receive additional information or news. They can attend a webinar or conference that your company organizes. They can request a demo, or they can even contact you themselves by, for example, filling in the form on the website or finding an email, if there is one. Anyway, there are any forms and ways in which interest can be expressed. And of course, lead is the one who is interested. And in the context of lead generation, a lead is a potential customer, which is very important. That lead might have shown some interest before, or probably you have decided that this person might be interested in product or services you offer. But in any case, the most important thing here is that lead is a potential customer, potential client. And you think that they might buy your product or your services. So why are leads important? Well, as I have just told, leads are potential customers. And new clients, new customers are obviously very important for any kinds of businesses. So lead generation is extremely important because it helps businesses to get new clients. And therefore, it also helps businesses to grow, expand into new territories, probably win some competition, and of course, make people learn about the brand, so improve recognition and the popularity, to increase all of that. But the main function of lead generation, and the most important, is to, of course, attract new clients. So the lead generation virtual assistants, they actually identify, qualify, and engage with potential customers. So practically, they find people, organizations, companies that might be interested in buying their product or services, and they do everything that they will be interested in doing so. So first of all, it's necessary to do a research to identify potential leads, because, well, it's impossible to write to everyone. There are too many people. So you need to understand very clearly who is your target audience, and today we will talk about it. Then it's important to gather contact information, because of course you need to find a way how to contact these leads. Probably you can call them, write an email or message on social media or on any other platform. We'll also talk about it later. Create and send personalized outreach messages. We'll have a lesson about it, and we will learn how to create an outreach message. But here I'd like to tell you in advance that, of course, when it's very nice to have some template make your lead generation processes faster, it's very important to send personalized messages, because usually prospective leads, prospective people have a lot of new contacts and a lot of suggestions, offers. So when you send a personalized message, you actually show your interest, that you care to spend some time doing your research. And that, of course, attracts attention and, well, creates a good impression. Another role is to qualify leads to determine their level of interest, because, of course, sometimes leads are more interested, sometimes they aren't that interested, or probably they can become interested later because right now they're busy, they have other projects, or etc. So you should understand how interested they are. And of course, you should also nurture them. Nurturing means that you don't just forget leads when they don't answer you. Because again, there are many reasons for not having an answer from the lead, or there are many reasons why they're interested in buying products or services right now, probably just not the right time. So you can nurture them by sending them follow-ups. Again, we will talk about it later. It's just some introduction. Or you can send them information, newsletters through different channels, just to make sure that they remember about you. And probably they will be interested in some products or services later. And of course, scheduling appointments for sales representatives, because lead generation department always works very closely with sales department. And while sales specialists do everything to sell the product, to discuss all the conditions and details, your job is to make these first steps to contact potential leads, to find them. And of course, you should organize some meetings, appointments to transfer your leads to the sales representative for further work. And of course, there are many benefits of offering lead generation services online. First of all, you have an access to a global client base. You aren't limited to a specific area, territory, or country, so you can work online everywhere and connect with businesses in every country, which is great because it makes you more flexible. And with virtual assistants, you can also work from any corner of the globe as long as you're online, which is very great in the modern world, because as long as you have internet, you aren't limited to a specific place. And of course, high demand. When I was talking about the importance of lead generations services, I mentioned that leads are new customers, new potential customers. And of course, businesses are always interested in new clients. So that's why lead generation is a high demand service, because businesses need that. And they're looking for professionals, for specialists that can help them with that. And now let's talk about types of leads and how to identify your target market. That's our second topic. So first of all, there are B2B and B2C leads. That's actually quite simple. B2B means business to business, and that means that your clients are some sort of businesses or organizations, which means that the organization wants to buy some products or services, while B2C is business to consumer lead. And that means practically people, individuals. They want to buy products for themselves, not for the company. Then what's important is there are qualified and unqualified leads. Qualified leads meet specific criteria. These criteria can be very different, but usually they include such factors as job title, company size, budget, and of course, level of interest. So qualified leads are those who want and who can make a decision to purchase some product or services. They're decision makers or some other qualified people that have enough budget to actually buy product or services, and they want to. And of course, unqualified leads do not meet these criteria. They aren't ready to make a deal, they aren't ready to buy something, but there is always a chance that through nurturing, they will become qualified leads later. Because what if they have an additional budget, or they will plan their budget accordingly, or probably they will have a need and they will remember about your company. So it's always nice to keep nurturing your leads. And let's take an example on how to identify qualified and unqualified leads. So in our example, we have some software solutions company that creates mobile applications for businesses. And we have a list of potential leads to determine whenever they're qualified or unqualified to become potential customers there. So let's take a look one more time at the criteria. So we should pay attention always to the job title, because we're looking for decision makers who are capable of actually making a decision that the company should buy this product. Then we should take a look at budget, because of course that usually the main problem with selling something, because the price is too high and they don't have enough budget. So you should understand if the lead is capable of spending enough money for a product. And of course, level of interest, how interested they are. And now let's take a look at our list of potential leads. We have Jane. She is marketing manager at a medium-sized tech company with a budget about $1,600 per month, and she's interested in a product demo. Then we have Amanda. She's operations manager at a nonprofit organization. She has a budget of about $250 per week, and she has downloaded an ebook. And then we have John. He's a student, he has $50, and he has signed up for a newsletter. So let's think, who is a qualified lead here? And the answer, Jane and Amanda are qualified leads because they are decision makers in their company. They have enough budget to afford the services of a company, of our hypothetical software solutions company, and they're interested in company's services. And then we have John. He's obviously unqualified because students don't usually, fortunately, make decisions in the companies. He doesn't have enough money to afford it. And while he has signed up for a newsletter, well, he isn't our lead. He might become one through nurturing, one day, but right now he isn't qualified. And here we talk about identifying target market. So practically we needed to understand whom we should contact. And the first step there is creating an ideal customer profile, or ICP shortened. It's a detailed description of an ideal customer. It should include such information as demographics, like age, gender, location, income, psychographics, interests, values, lifestyle, needs and pain points, which is probably the most important point here, because usually some services or products are meant to solve some clients' problems. It's better not to offer like, hey, we have such a cool product, please buy it because it's cool. It's better to address some needs and pain points of the client. Like, we have such a cool product that can help you to solve this particular problem. And of course, buying behavior. And once you have created an ICP, you can use it to identify potential leads. Because again, you cannot just physically contact everyone in the world. So you need to conduct market research, probably attend some events if it's possible, network with other professionals. But yeah, it's very important to identify who your potential leads are. And let's take a look at the example of creating an ideal customer profile for a coffee shop. So let's imagine that we open something in a very trendy urban neighborhood, and we need to identify our ideal customers. So once again, we need to consider these criteria: demographics, psychographics, needs and pain points, buying behavior, like preferences, habits, probably challenges that they face, their interests, price, because again, even coffee shop can be very different when it comes to price. And of course, it's very important to acknowledge whom you can sell your product to, and so on. And there, with our example, we can decide that these demographics for our ideal customer, so age from 25 to 40, all genders, in location in urban or suburban areas within a 5-mile radius of the coffee shop, because of course, mostly the coffee shop will be visited by people who live nearby, who work nearby, and with middle to high income, because if you want to offer something of a good qualities, you need to charge for it. Then we have the following psychographics. Obviously, we need people who are interested in coffee. Probably they're working professionals seeking a cozy work environment, or they're students, which is also an option. They're interested in ethically sourced coffee and, of course, of a good quality, and in sustainability. They have busy urban lifestyle, most likely socially active. So it's important to understand that you should provide them with such possibility, to have a cozy environment to probably work or study or just chat with their friends, and any other possibilities. We have their needs and pain points. For example, they prefer freshly brewed coffee of a good quality. So that means that we should provide them with such coffee. They're looking for a quiet place to work, study, probably spend their quick coffee breaks, which means that it's very important to also be quick if we place our coffee shop or cafe in some busy place where there are a lot of people who have short breaks, and they have limited time for coffee preparation, so we should also consider that. And then we have buying behavior of our perfect customers. So they visit our coffee shops 3-5 times a week. They're willing to pay more for high quality coffee, but it also means that coffee should be of that high quality. And they're open to using mobile apps and loyalty programs, which means that the coffee shop can develop something like that to actually engage with their customers more, attract new ones, provide potential customers with bonus and rewards. So they would come one more time, and then one more time, and etc. And let's take a look at another example. For example, we need to create an ideal customer profile for a B2B software solution. And we need to understand whom we should contact, who is our ideal customer, because it could be very, very different from an ideal customer of a coffee shop because of different pain points, of different needs, and because of different tasks. So age, well, we aim to contact decision makers because these are the people who are capable of actually buying our product, make a decision about it. So these are people within the range of 30 to 35, 55. There is no specific gender preference, obviously. And we aim for businesses there that are located in technology hubs or regions with a strong tech presence. So most likely businesses in some tech developed area. Now, obviously, we want to sell our solution. And we aim to meet large-sized businesses because most likely we cannot target small companies because they won't be able to afford our product in that case. That's why it's very important to understand the budget possibilities, so whom you should contact. If your product is too complicated and therefore probably expensive, most likely expensive, you can just target small companies because that wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't be able to afford it. Then we have interest of our potential customers because Well, they're interested in technologies, obviously, and they want to make work more efficient. And they value innovations. They're interested in always developing technologies, and they want to implement latest solutions. And of course, most likely they would like to adapt quickly to ever-changing world. So it's obvious that the ideal client there is companies that are interested in technologies and that care about progress and how they can implement new solutions there. And they want software they can change and grow. So, which means that actually they want something modern. And there we should also understand what type of solutions they want. It's better to concentrate there on the specific tasks your products or solutions can solve, can make. Because, well, even if you use cutting-to-edge modern technologies that very great, they should still solve some problems of client. Probably optimizing some of their services. Something like that. Making it easier, faster, cheaper for them, anything like that. And of course, the decision-making process will look completely different there. Because in companies, especially in big companies, decision-making processes can take a lot of time while companies do their own research, talk to their own experts, think about all the benefits and downsides. Decisions are usually made by a team of people. And if you offer some complicated solution, which will take a lot of time and effort to implement it, it will take even longer. So sometimes in some cases, the implementation, like the whole process of selling some product can take up to 6 months when this product or solution is very complicated. And of course, budget, that's always an important thing, how much they can and would like to spend. And therefore, we should also understand their preferred communication channels. For example, it's always important in such cases when we work with some big companies selling some products to have presentations, online meetings, probably one-pagers with just quick description of your product and its features. So you should provide them with any information you can that is written very nicely with examples, probably case studies, anything like that. And the thing is that, of course, we can spend our time creating ideal customer profile. But in many cases, as it usually happens, lead generation virtual assistants receive this description from their clients. Because usually businesses already understand their target audience and whom they want to contact, whom they want to approach. So here it's very important to actually question your client to gather information about their ideal customer. Probably they have some prior experience and you can talk to other people in the lead generation team. Probably they can provide you with that information, which is most likely. It happens very often. So, but in any case, you should be prepared to create it yourself. But in that case, it's very helpful to work with someone in the company to actually hear their point of view as well. But again, sometimes lead generators aren't that lucky and they have to create ICP independently. For example, when we talk about some new business or new product and there is limited information and businesses aren't sure about their target audience, again, it's very nice to work closely then with someone in the company because their target audience is probably the most important part of their business development processes, how they would like to develop. Again, it's always better to use clients' knowledge because nowadays businesses mostly understand who their target audience is. And right now, let's talk about setting lead generation goals and expectations. It's very important to do so in order to have successful lead generation campaign. Because again, you might do one big job and then your client suddenly will demand completely different. So it's very important actually to be clear what is expected from you. And these goals that you have as a lead generator should be specific, measurable, and achievable, of course. But it's very important to talk about it before everything and actually discuss with your client like what you both want to achieve and what you can also achieve. So let's take a look at the examples of how clients can set lead generation goals and expectation in different spheres, because that can be very different, first of all, in different areas, and what's also here in different products. It really depends also on what the company is selling. For example, I have worked in different IT companies and they all offer different types of services. Some of them were outsourced companies, some of them were product companies. And again, these are all different cases. And there might be different lead generation goals and expectations because how much time you should spend doing the research, contacting the leads, probably nurturing, etc., etc., and how long it will all take. Because in some cases, it won't take too long from when you contact the lead and then transfer it to the sales team. And in other cases, when, for example, the product is too complicated and requires a lot of time, as I have said, it will take much more time to actually do that job. For example, B2B sales, the usual goal can be to generate 200 high-quality leads from target industry within the next 3 months. And a 20% conversion rate is expected. That's an example. Of course, the thing here is that the goals and expectations can change, especially when the company doesn't have an established lead generation processes and they just start like organizing all these processes right now from scratch with you. It's very important to understand that you might overestimate together with your clients your possibilities. And these goals and expectations can change when you understand that probably it's too high. Probably you should change your strategy or messages or anything like that. So in real estate area, the goal can be to acquire 50 new property buyer leads per month. And of course, the company will expect to see an increase in the number of property viewings and at least 2 property sales per quarter. So again, these are completely different goals and expectations because, well, the whole industry is very different and work with different timelines. In e-commerce, fashion retail, the goal can be to increase the subscriber list by 10,000 in the next 6 months. And it's expected that like 50% of the subscribers will make their first purchase. Again, these goals and expectations also influence on the work because what sources you will use, what will be your main activity, and etc., etc. So it's very important to understand how processes in that area works, in that specific area, probably with that specific type of product or solution, and what can be realistically expected. For example, in financial services, the goal will be to generate 300 qualified leads with about 10% expected conversion rate, which is quite high actually in that example. So probably in some cases it will be lower. And now let's talk about responsibilities and tasks of a lead generation virtual assistant. First of all, it's research and identification of leads. It's very important to do your research because even if you understand who your target audience is, you still need to find some concrete people. You can conduct online research, use various tools and databases. But again, practically you're looking for people who might become potential customers using different channels, like databases, blogs, forums. We will talk about it in detail later. Of course, then it comes data entry and management. That's a very important part because when you find this information, you need to organize it and maintain some databases, probably through Google Sheets or additional services. It's very important, first of all, to collect this information properly so you will be able to use it. And that also can help you to actually provide your client with information about your work. Then comes another common responsibility about email outreach. Of course, many lead generators craft and send emails to potential leads and follow-ups to nurture these relationships, as we have talked and we will talk also. Outreach can also be through social media. For example, LinkedIn is the most popular professional network, but you're not limited to that. Then cold calling, making cold calls, and qualified leads using the results of the cold calls. And of course, appointment setting by scheduling appointments and coordinating them. For example, when you need to transfer a lead to a sales representative team, you usually do it, well, in many cases, it was like that you organize a meeting where you invite lead and the sales team. It can be nice, it's better to discuss it with the sales team, of course, but it's nice to probably join that meetings to introduce the lead to a sales team and the sales team to the lead, and then you can leave. So because you aren't really needed for the next part, but you have done your job by connecting the lead to the sales team. Of course, lead qualification is also a common responsibility because you need to understand how qualified they are and probably understand with which leads you should work right now because they are more prospective. And then you should track and analyze all the information you gather because first of all, it will help you to report to your client on your progress, which is very important because you need some proofs that you have done some job, some work. And of course, this information also should be used for analytics. Probably you can take a look at your results and understand that your strategy is successful or you should change something, probably an outreach channel, an outreach message, something like that. And of course, customer relationship management, software management. These are systems that are used to actually gather the data about lead generation processes. For example, how many leads, at what stages they are, like the first contact, the follow-up contacts, the meeting, successful, unsuccessful. Again, it's a very great system to track your progress, to track all your leads with all the information about them, including contact information, their interests, their questions, documents, everything. And of course, it's a nice way to show your client that these are your results. And let's talk on what skills and experience are required to be a successful lead generation virtual assistant. First of all, effective online research skill. In my lead generation experience, I have done a lot of online research, for example, sources, people, You always look for people in different companies who are decision makers in your area, like that can implement some IT decisions. Probably databases, anything, contact information. We will talk about some tips that will help you with online research later, but you should prepare that to be prepared that it takes quite a lot of time. Of course, strong communication skills for email outreach and cold calling, because most likely you will need to write emails, write messages on social media, making cold calls. It's very important to be able to structure a message that way that you appeal to your customer, to your lead, make them interested, be confident. Of course, that require a lot of strong communication skills. Client relationship management and trust building skills. Of course, while you want to sell your product or services, you should remember about building relationship with your customer, which means being polite, building trust. Probably you should be very careful with not pushing the client too much. So you should find that border, that red line where you should stop, and probably let the lead have time to think about everything, probably just gather their thoughts. And right now, I would like to give you a practice task to create an ICP. So in this activity, you will need to create a simple ideal customer profile for make-believe business. This exercise will help you understand how to do it, how to recognize your business target audience. And the details you will receive in a Google Classroom. I will expect that you will be able to create an ideal customer profile, because again, it's very important to have this kind of knowledge. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.